Okay. Our next speaker is founder of Stanley Street, a company that collaborates in the development of film and television roles for actors, writers, and directors. Her clients range from Academy Award-winning actors to new media developers. She's a professional screenwriter and an acting coach, and this is a personal favorite of mine. I actually worked with this woman a few years ago, and I had an incredible experience in her class. She's highly intuitive and is a brilliant teacher and coach, and so it's my pleasure to welcome Eden Harman Bernardy. Everyone, a warm welcome, please.
Over here. How's that? Everybody hear me well? How's that? Yeah? All right. So you people in the back, I'm sorry, because I did a little survey before, and it looks like you're dying. And ma'am, I'm sorry. This group up here, I think you might be dying also. In fact, I'm pretty well convinced that everyone in the room and here at the Bill conference is kind of shit out of luck. We're all pretty much dying. Because except for that little baby that was here earlier, unless you are still in puberty, chances are you've already begun the dying process, because that's the deal. That's how it goes. So I was going to call my talk, Remember Dying, Memento Mori, but that just seemed really pretentious. So, and I didn't want to scare the bejesus out of you. See, people are already running. I know, I got it. It's okay. It's going to happen anyway. Yeah, it's all good. See, when it comes to things that scare us, dying is right up top. I need my clicker. Is this my clicker? Is this my clicker?
Oh, there it is.
Is that it?
Sweet.
There we go.
I was trying to figure out.
It's all good. It's all good.
Is it
Right on. There we go. So, the things that scare us, right? We saw Indy and the snakes, spiders, right? We're also afraid of rejection, fear, pain, loss. We just call it other things, like public speaking and snakes. When I start working with an actor, I always ask first, what are you afraid of? Hey there, my sister is here. Because when you ask what are you afraid of, you very quickly get down to the center of the character, the heart of the character. It saves you a lot of time. There's a famous question. Nice and simple. This might scare you. Ah! Spiders, the dark, your girlfriend's mother. Fear triggers may be different, but the fear is basically the same. The adrenaline, the sweat, the heart pumping, that sensation of incredible impending doom. It's not a great question to ask at weddings, however. It tends to upset the bride when you go up to her and say, what are you afraid of? I've upset my niece quite a bit with this. And it's probably not a good question to ask all the time, because it leads to too much rumination and self-examination, and you get a little boring at parties. But if you don't ask these questions some of the time, the denial dam tends to get broken down by these guys, and those monsters just come piling out of the closet pretty quickly and pretty thunderously. Now, as an acting coach, it's my job to help actors navigate this terrain between doubt and confidence, where terror both hides and reveals character. I had the opportunity this summer to spend some time with the extraordinary cast of Hamilton. If you have not yet seen this show, I cannot praise it enough. If you're tired of the hyperbole about this show, get over it. It's like an umami burger. You can praise it, and it's still, first bite, it's better than you expected. My lovely assistant and I, partner and I, Noelle Bengolam, got to spend some time with Leslie Odom, who stars as Aaron Burr. Little American history lesson, let's all remember Aaron Burr is sadly most famous for shooting Alexander Hamilton, the founding father, on the $10 bill in your pocket. Well, we were talking to Leslie, and I asked him my question. What are you afraid of? How are you going to move on? How are you going to let go of this extraordinary show? What a rude fucking question. I was supposed to just say, right, oh, you're amazing, you know. We told him he was amazing, and we laughed and enjoyed how incredible his work was. But I asked, what do you do? How do you move on when you've touched lightning? When your life is so great, when the present moment is so sweet, how do you jump into that rascally future? Well, we spoke about what an amazing ride it was. But before I tell you what he said, I want to tell you about a song he sings in the show called Wait For It. Death doesn't discriminate. There's Leslie. In the song Wait For It, the lyric goes by Lin-Manuel Miranda, death doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints. It takes, and we keep living anyway. Well, all runs come to an end. And so he said to me, I'm just gonna leap. Leap. That does not sound freeing to me. That does not sound safe. That sounds very, very scary. Just leap to where? To what? But the trouble is, if you don't leap, like Aaron Burr, you keep missing the moment. He says Hamilton never hesitates. He takes, and he rises and rises and rises up. But later on, Burr explains another possible meaning of his philosophy, wait for it. Because he's fallen very much in love with a woman who is married to a British soldier. This is during the Revolutionary War. That's not going to go well for him. But maybe there's a possibility, if he's willing to wait for it, that his beloved Theodosia will become his. And so when the lyric returns and he says to us, love doesn't discriminate between the sinners and the saints, it waits. It lies in wait. We develop a different relationship to this idea of waiting. It puts us in a different relationship with the future. The future is filled with hope. Pandora's little tricky treat. I'm not standing still. I'm lying in wait. Well, sometimes living in hope is fine. It's a remarkable way to deal with difficult moments. 1 foot here and now, 1 foot in the future. And it's all well and fine to meditate and do our power of nowing, but sometimes the present moment is unbearable, and we want to get out of it. Dropping back into your memories is another direction to go. Try a little time traveling. If the future isn't full of something that's looking cheery, maybe there's something sweet in the past. Bubbles on a summer afternoon. So our fears can sometimes be faced by being entirely in the present. At other times, try time traveling. So how did Mr. Odom answer that question? He said with that magnetic smile, I'm just gonna leap because what else is there? You can't hold on to a tornado. Try. Whoosh. You know, no one makes it out alive. Why do we act as if we could? Or worse, why do we act as if we should? Paralyzed by fear, in another play by Stephen Sondheim, the beautiful painter George Seurat can't paint. He can't paint. He can't move on. And he asks his muse for advice. And she sings to him, move on, George. Stop wondering where you're going. Move on. If you can know where you're going, you've gone. Just keep moving on. But he's terrified. We're terrified. And he says, I chose and my world was shaken. She says, so what? The choice may have been mistaken. The choosing was not. Just keep moving on. But Sondheim gives us a couple more bits of advice. Look at what you want, not at where you are, not at what you'll be. Look at all the things you've done for me. Oh, it's not all about me. I thought it was my personal narrative, this life, but maybe I'm part of your narrative, or the bigger story, or a story I'm not actually writing. Maybe I belong to something bigger. That's not a bad idea. For people of faith, they have that to lean into. But all of us can lean into the creative collective, the group. All of us belong to everybody here at Bill. All of us belong to everybody in Los Angeles. Just think how we'd react if Los Angeles was under threat right now. Suddenly, we'd be one big group. I remember this city after the Rodney King riots. We were one. It lasted about 3 hours. But it was pretty nice. And when you belong to a group, it's a lot easier to fight off the bears. Now, my sister is here. My sister told me a story once about Shaolin monks. She said that when they go up and down the steps from prayer, they greet each other with this phrase, remember dying. Very cheery, lovely, not hello, goodbye, shalom, salam alaikum. Remember dying. What a lovely way to help people cherish the present, value the past, develop some endurance for the future. Now, my husband teases me because I like to watch these horrible late-night TV shows. I like to watch reruns of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I like how she fights off death. I like how she faces her fear. She's not fearless. She's full of fear, and she fights anyway. Now, my sister deals with the real dying. She works with dying people, families of the dying, doctors, hospital staffs. I just teach actors how to pretend they're dealing with dying. She's a tour guide. She's a tour guide and says, you know, there's a little calm over this way, there's a little peace over this way. She doesn't get terribly excited about it, and she doesn't try to fight death like doctors. She meets people where they are. Oh, so you're dying. Okay, I've got a harp. She looks at death day in and day out, and it doesn't seem to frighten her. Now, I should tell you that I have been through 5 or 9 cancers. It does depend on how you count. If you count recurrences, it's 9. And during one of these, I had to navigate quite a bit of pain during one of the lymphomas. And I learned a little something about time travel. I found out that in every minute, although there was about 10 seconds of excruciating pain a minute, there were a good 50 seconds when the pain was either waning or increasing. But if I lived in the past or the future, instead of that rough 10 seconds, I almost never really experienced the crescendo of pain. This little time traveling trick is a tool I've also used with many actors. Just get through that one moment, that rough moment. The present isn't always our friend. Sometimes it is. Sometimes just looking across the room at the other person, putting all of that away, gets you through. Sometimes it doesn't, and we need to move around. Fight or flight seems to be all they offer us. Fight or flight. Except maybe there's another way. Maybe instead of reacting to fear, we could respond to danger. How would that be different? Let's see. Well, a fear goes out the window because that isn't real. That's a thought, not a thing. Yes? Being haunted by the past is irrelevant because it isn't present danger. And the dread of the future? Well, that might trigger some planning. It might get you in a preparation mode, but that's calm, as my sister would advise. That doesn't exactly elicit panic, preparing, like a good Girl Scout. When I'm facing real and present danger, however, I do get that adrenaline rush. Our hearts pound, we sweat a little bit, the heart is going, the energy is flowing through the body, and that's great. That can invigorate you rather than paralyze you. To be more than you thought you could be, reach harder, push harder, reach higher. It doesn't have to stand us still. Maybe that's why we race cars, or put all our money down on one roll of the die, or climb these ridiculously high mountains, or jump off ridiculously high cliffs, or these people who ride these ridiculously high waves. But the thing is, you can do that if you want to. Gegas und Haig. But you don't have to. Really, all you have to do to get that rush, that whoosh, remember dying. Let it help you fall helplessly in love. Let it make you dance and sing and act ridiculously in public. I am not particularly coordinated, and I'm tone deaf, and I sing and dance in public all the time now. Not right now, maybe later in the lobby. Sadly, Alexander Hamilton would bury his son, also from a duel, before his own death. And he and his wife, Eliza, have to face the unimaginable pain of the loss of their child. And they move uptown where it's quiet and where they can eventually find forgiveness for themselves and each other. What if fear is a doorway to forgiveness? I don't know if you've seen these people on the talk shows, but I saw this woman and this young man. This young man killed her son when they were both children. This young man, as part of his gang initiation, shot her son to death. The woman went to the trial and begged for leniency in the sentencing of this young man. She then went to visit him every month. He begged her not to go. She begged to be allowed to go and developed a relationship with him. Went to his parole hearing, begged for more leniency, and was responsible for his early release, where she met him and invited him to come live in her home, since he had no family of his own. Maybe loss is the key to forgiveness. The beautiful young surgeon, Paul Kalanithi, passed away last year from lung cancer, but not before leaving us with his book, When Breath Becomes Air. In this book, he talks about a concept, the perpetual flatness of now. This is where I am now living, because unlike most of you, I am actually dying. I'm not beating this particular round of cancer. What I have now is called, there it is, metastatic aggressive stage 4 synovial sarcoma, which is Latin for I'm fucked. Completely and totally fucked. But I gotta tell you, I kind of like the rascally, worldly world of fear, that woolly wolf of fear. I'm learning all sorts of things. Admittedly, I'm a little tired. My immune system and I are exhausted. Some days I'm terrified, so I take up arms against a sea of trouble, good little Hamlet that I am. Or I just breathe, and I let go, and I travel. I travel back or forward, or maybe into the other person. Hello. Because it's not so scary there, because maybe you're scared too, and that makes it so much easier. Now, in these acting classes I teach called house sessions, I get to meet with these extraordinary, professional, gifted actors on a monthly basis. I'm a teacher, and I will be until I'm not. I love actors. I love the way they face difficult questions. I love the way they have the courage to ask those questions. And I love how the best acting doesn't answer, just like the best writing. So what's dying like? I don't know. What's it like for you? Are you scared? Does it hurt? Will you look weird? These are the questions my 12-year-old asked me when I told him I was fucked, because we don't keep secrets. I told him I'd lost this particular battle. The prognosis was crappy. That 15 years went to 5 to 7, went to 3. I'm 2 years in. I know I look good, though, don't I? I know. I call it fat and happy. I know. It's good. But before he asked me those questions, he burst into laughter. You heard me. I'm not kidding. He burst into laughter. Now, I have been an acting coach for enough years and the daughter of a psychologist to understand that that line between tears and laughter is very thin. But when the laughter ended, tears didn't come. Questions did. What's it like dying? Are you scared? Are you afraid? Does it hurt? Are you going to look weird? My friend Ari told me a story a while ago. He had a friend who was a devout atheist who had told him that there absolutely was no God, there was no heaven. This was already Ari's belief. They were in sync. I'm a secular humanist myself. But this man one night sent a message out to all of his friends. I'm wrong. I'm completely wrong. There is a heaven. I was there tonight. At the Tel Aviv Symphony, care of Beethoven, Mozart, and Bach, I was transported from my body and from my mind into heaven. Heaven is absolutely real. This man died 3 days later from an aneurysm, completely unexpected and previously undiagnosed. And my friend Ari had put this message from him in his, however it is you Facebook people organize your messages, with a little caption that read, Moishe in heaven. I love how stories and movies give us images, give us symphonic images to help us conceive what is beyond our ability, like the beautiful film Interstellar, with this intersection of the past and the present and the future. Maybe heaven is always. So what's it like dying? I don't know. How are you doing? Are you afraid? A little? Does it hurt? Sometimes. Do I look weird? Only when I laugh uncontrollably. And I laugh all the time now. So what are you afraid of? Thanks, folks.
Chris.